This is the Awful Announcing Podcast. Here's your host, Brandon Contes.
Alrighty, welcome to episode 111 of the Awful Announcing Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Contes, and this week we were lucky to be joined by Rich Eisen of NFL Network, and for the first time since 2003, we could say Rich Eisen of ESPN. The Rich Eisen Show officially launched on ESPN this week, airing on ESPN Radio and ESPN's digital platforms daily from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. And during this podcast, we talked to Rich about returning to ESPN. We also discussed the fact that his show is going to be airing at the same time as the Pat McAfee show. And we talked about his relationship with Pat. Additionally, the NFL, of course, has bought a 10% stake in ESPN. ESPN is now going to operate NFL media properties, including NFL Network, which Rich has been the face of since 2003. So we discussed that change and whether it's a conflict of interest that the NFL now owns part of ESPN. We also discussed Rich recently anchoring a SportsCenter again for the first time in 22 years and his desire to do it again in the near future. It was a great conversation with Rich. Great to have him on the podcast this week, and we had a lot of timely discussions during our chat, and I thought he was an excellent listen. As always, make sure you rate and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you also subscribe to Awful Announcing's YouTube page, and enjoy this week's episode of the Awful Announcing Podcast with guest Rich Eisen. All right, for more than 2 decades, he has been and still is the face of NFL Network, but now he is also feeding so many sports fans 90s nostalgia by returning to ESPN. He is Rich Eisen. Rich, thanks so much for joining us here on the Awful Announcing Podcast today. When we look back on the summer of 2025, what's going to be the bigger formal union to come from it? The NFL and ESPN, or Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce?
Well, I guess it depends. Does the Kelce Swift merger require government approval? I don't think so, right? So let's just start with that. They can do whatever they want, right?
Definitely.
I'd imagine that ring is binding. Right now, last I checked, many of my employers have a non-binding agreement. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just start with that, Brandon, and move from there. Other than that, we just don't know.
Do you know Jason or Travis Kelce at all?
Like personally, you're talking about?
Have you interviewed either?
Both of them have sat in this chair to my right. I saw both of them at the American Century Championship in Lake Tahoe. I go back like a car seat with both of these guys. Yeah. Sure.
Taylor Swift undoubtedly helped their podcast, but New Heights was big even before Travis and Taylor started dating. Like, just really impressive what they've built, and especially I think coming from a tight end and a center, like not the most glamorous positions. It's not quarterbacks that are building this monstrous show, but credit them for building something so huge.
Yeah.
Jason is already at ESPN, of course. Do you think Travis has a future in media, or is his celebrity kind of outgrowing being an NFL analyst on TV?
I kind of feel like his lane might not be part of an awful announcing lane. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be whatever he wants it to be. He is.
I do feel like awful announcing
he's crossed over already, man. I mean, I remember Chiefs Dolphins in Germany, covered that game. Called that game for NFL Network, and the Patriots and Colts played the following week in the same stadium, and just remember the massive media presence at the Chiefs facility, and many of them were not there to cover football.
Sure.
And the following week, the Patriots had the same facility, and it was crickets compared to the week before. I mean, so Travis has already crossed over. There's no question about it. And the world's his oyster, man. And the same thing for Jason there. And the reason why, I mean, obviously you pointed out how successful their podcast is because we all feel, and I think I speak for everyone who watches them or takes in their content, is they're relatable, right? You and that's why the Manning casts works so well. That's relatable. You hear brothers talking to each other that way all the time. That's why Pardon the Interruption was so successful, has been so successful for so long, because Tony and Wilbon sound like two guys who bark at each other, in an office or are friends, and that's always been a key for success in for anybody in this broadcasting business. Is if you come across as relatable, like, oh, I know that person. I feel like I know that person. I feel like I want to hang out with that person more. It works, and the Kelces couldn't be more relatable in myriad ways that I think have already been documented.
Yeah. No, as famous as Travis gets, those conversations with Jason, they sound very familiar. And that certainly is part of what makes it so successful. All right, from Travis and Taylor now to the NFL and ESPN. The NFL buys a 10% stake in ESPN. ESPN now controls NFL Network and other NFL media properties. It's been in the works for years, but it was pronounced dead at various times before talks would always kind of heat up again. What was your initial reaction when you found out that this was real and actually happening?
Oh, I just reached for the residual check, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have it right here. That's a bit. That's a bit for the Awful Announcing podcast. I actually used
we'll clip
prop. Thank you. And for those who are listening, I mean, that was excellent natural sound. No, I mean, listen, this has been a wild run and ride, right? Like for all of us at NFL Network that have been there from the beginning, or for a long time, for the lion's share of 22 years. We're entering our 23rd season coming up next week. So it's a source of pride that we were part of the 1.0 iteration of this network to create such an entity that it is worth 10% of ESPN, along with obviously other very important packages that ESPN and the NFL have put in the same deal point. So it's more than just a deal point. It's something that I poured my heart and soul into, and so many did other hardworking men and women who are still there. And also through the 1.0 of NFL Network, creating aspects of the year-round conversation of the National Football League that when we were doing it, we were cast as crazy or doing something that nobody was interested in, and yet now pretty much everybody's doing it. So we checked a lot of boxes successfully, and one by one, the things that the NFL Network would have would create other packages for the NFL to sell off to other partners, and never thought, to be honest with you, throughout the 20 plus years that the NFL Network itself would be something to package and send to a partner. But obviously this day and age, the media business changes so fast, so quickly. You've got to adapt. The streaming world is where it's at right now. I mean, my show, as you know, is moving from an outstanding platform in Roku, where you can get every possible thing that is streaming, to one of the streamers itself in Disney Plus and the new direct-to-consumer ESPN app where people can get it everywhere. Never thought that this would be where a show that I created once upon a time here, still on the campus of a satellite company, that's where it would go. But that's where it is. And back in 2003, when NFL Network was created, sports leagues creating their own linear cable channels was a lucrative business. And you could see every league did it. Now in 2025, not so much, with cord cutting and linear cable obviously having a smaller audience. We all know, I'm sure you've talked about it ad nauseum on your pod. So put it all together, there are a ton of, again, hardworking men and women and colleagues of mine that are just up the road here in Southern California at the home of the National Football League in our new place, where apparently, from what I've been told, ESPN is already our landlord, that we know how to present the National Football League. We've got decades of experience doing it, and we've got decades of experience doing it in a way that is associated with a brand and a brand name that, from what I am being told, is going to remain intact and is being viewed by those who are making this deal together as a valuable asset that will continue on in its own way, and will be just another way for people to consume the NFL. And that would make me very happy. And a lot of people who are working at NFL Network would be thrilled to be part of an NFL Network 2.0, part of the Disney world, where the NFL obviously means so much to that business. Just makes sense. And it would be awesome for me, obviously, personally and professionally, to bring everything that I do under one roof.
Were you ever concerned for the future of NFL Network as these conversations between ESPN and NFL were happening and being reported on?
Well, yeah. I mean, years ago, I had no idea what it would look like if it happened then, and the way they would view it. But right now, I view it just, again, my show, every day, moving to Disney Plus and the ESPN app and ESPN Radio as well, is part of, you can see, an acquisition palooza that has been going on with ESPN and Disney, and my show in May, and obviously Pat's show having already been established there, and the rights that you just saw that ESPN acquired with WWE. That's prior to that, the NFL Network deal that you just brought up, and Red Zone, and then the MLB deal as well. I'm honored that my show is part of that world, and you could see that content is king, and it is a differentiator, and it is something that clearly ESPN values. And so, a couple of years ago, before this acquisition palooza, and how you're now seeing apps that are being created for cord cutters and direct-to-consumer concepts becoming more and more prevalent, content being acquired is the paramount concept. And so that wasn't the idea a few years ago when you said that this rumor has been starting in the conversation. I remember hearing about something like this almost 10 years ago for the first time. Back then I was nervous.
Yeah.
That concerned me for various reasons. But not now, man. I mean, not now. I can't imagine ESPN is capturing it to kill it. That makes no sense when you're creating something that is so successful, clearly, and you're asking people to get your service. You're offering them more content. That's the ideal. Content creation and distribution, you kind of go together. And I don't think the NFL would countenance that. And I don't think it's a silly conversation, and it's almost as silly as this. And I know I'll transition to this subject matter, even if you weren't going to ask it. I hear, certainly when my show got connected with ESPN, and we're in a partnership deal, and inside the NBA is another one, right? And you hear how I would read, oh, ESPN's gonna just turn it into something else,
Yeah.
And I what a silly notion that is. It's so silly. What are they going to tell inside the NBA? You got to do it differently. Get out of here. They haven't told me that at all. And as a matter of fact, when I did that SportsCenter a couple Mondays ago, and I started talking about, hey, I wanted the old music. I want the old way of doing it. I want to do a little bit, as you mentioned at the top of this podcast, serve up a little sports comfort food. It wasn't like, no, Rich, you've been away a long time. It's been 22 years. We don't do it that way anymore. The answer was, let's go look for it. Let's look for the sound. Let's look for the music. Let's look for the graphics. As a matter of fact, the producer I was talking to at the time, who did a great job and had, honcho the whole thing, Tom DeCourty is his name. And he told me that they had just had a conversation internally about starting the show with the lights down and then bringing them up like they used to do every single time for SportsCenter when we would start the lights down and welcome to SportsCenter. Lights would come up. They're like, we were thinking of doing that if you want to. And I'm like, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Like, I want to do the old school version of it. And they were like, let's do it. And they leaned into it.
Yeah.
They leaned into it. So I'm so excited about the future, not just of this show, but yes, NFL Network moving into that footprint can do so many great things together. And so many people who live out here in Los Angeles who've been dedicating their lives to presenting the NFL in this manner. Like I said, associated with a brand and a brand name. I have nothing but excitement for it and push back at the notion of, Bristolizing, for the lack of a better phrase, something that has worked elsewhere that they have acquired. This show is not, I haven't seen a lick of that. Not a lick of it.
Yeah. So, all right. There's, I'd say a couple of topics that I want to touch on within that, what you just said. The
Sure.
first thing, like you mentioned, the concern of ESPN kind of meddling on inside the NBA or any show that it acquires. What about the concern about now the NFL sort of interjecting and influencing the way ESPN covers the NFL?
I don't know, man. Again, I always rely on the story. When I first started NFL Network, I got a call. Steve Bornstein, who was the major domo of the whole operation, and I always love busting Steve Stones to say he's such a brilliant executive. He hired me twice, ESPN and NFL Network. Got a call one day because again, I was new to the whole operation. I just gotten my cardboard box from ESPN a few weeks before. And got a call from an executive who, again, I was not familiar with the NFL flow chart other than Paul Tagliabue and Steve. And I said, I just got a call from an executive. And Steve's like, who is it? And I said, his name's Roger Goodell. He says, hang up and call him. And he was the COO at the time. And Roger took me golfing. And halfway through the day, he says to me, we hired you for a reason. We want you to be the guy that we hired from SportsCenter and ESPN. Bring your game, essentially, just to paraphrase. And he goes, there's going to be some times in the NFL where somebody at the club level or maybe ownership is going to call, or you'll hear something you said they're not happy with. He goes, if you're ever in a spot, call me and I'll fix it. That's what he said. Never thought a second lick about it. Ever. So I can't answer your question, Brandon. I don't know. Obviously it is a different day and age when a sports league and a partner make a deal and for a piece of the company.
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how that's going to work. That might be for a larger flow chart than me.
Did you see Dan Patrick's thoughts on it?
I did not.
Dan had, this was a few weeks ago. He had said basically that it's not a conflict of interest because ESPN is already so in bed with the NFL.
Sure. I mean, yeah, but ESPN's and now in bed with wrestling and WWE and baseball, right? I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, I've got Seth Wickersham coming in studio here tomorrow. I've had Don Van Natta on my program multiple times. I don't know how you're going to tell Don, hey, hold your horses. You know what I mean? Like DVN Jr. has been there and done that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you tell him to go slower. Same thing with Seth. As long as they're still employed, and they are, last I checked, with ESPN.
So from your perspective and your experience covering the NFL on a network owned by the NFL, have you ever been told that topics are off limits?
No, I mean, listen, Brandon, did we ever in the NFL have an expose on what's going on in a locker room on a subject matter that's outside of depth chart controversies or coaching controversies? Of course not. I mean, please.
Right. Yeah.
Our eyes are wide open.
Right.
Our eyes are wide open here. I mean, of course. I mean, we're listen. I can't imagine you're going to turn on NFL Live or NFL Network. When these two companies merge, or these two entities belong in the same circle, that you're going to get bland conversation. That we're not going to talk about that decision or this roster move or this controversy or this suspension. It's all still going to be talked about in that regard. And if you're looking for something harder core or deeper down or pulling back layers of machinery, you might still get it from the ESPN side of things. I mean, but I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school here, Brian.
Sure. All right. So as you also mentioned, beginning September 2nd, the Rich Eisen Show is going to be airing on ESPN Radio, ESPN digital platforms from noon to 3 Eastern.
Yes, sir.
Is this move another branch of the ESPN NFL deal, or was this happening separate from that?
Oh, this is way before. Oh yeah, this is way before. This is one thing has nothing to do with the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then as you mentioned,
this thing was done, announced in early May.
Yeah.
So, and as you know, the NFL Network, ESPN, NFL conversation didn't become non-binding until just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So,
is the show still going to be airing from the same studio?
From right here. From very right here. And, we're just going to change the mic flags and obviously the place where we send it. And I do want to say this about Roku, if I may. I love them. They're awesome. They're an incredible place to partner with. And if this wasn't an all-encompassing going back to where I started with my roots, as well as audio and the video rights, I would have had no problem staying with them. They're awesome. And it is a great place. And, obviously it is the place where you can get everything that streams, virtually every sport that is available to watch. You can get it through Roku. And so Disney Plus and ESPN app is going to be available there as well. But the only thing that changes is where I send the signal to my friends at Disney and Disney Plus, and then of course ESPN Radio, and the Sirius XM channel changes to the ESPN channel as well. And we're very excited about the business relationship and the partnerships. Good Karma Brands is the first ever opportunity for us to have our video and audio rights sold by the same company and entity. So we're excited about the possibilities of our partnerships, that growing, as well as obviously our audience. And then you saw, my ability to do a SportsCenter for the first time in 22 years is to clearly dive headfirst into the nostalgia and other aspects of the ESPN world in support and promotion of this program.
I know you have a solid relationship with Pat McAfee. You've been on his show. He's been on NFL Network with you. But after Andrew Marchand first reported that your show was moving to ESPN, Pat had publicly asked if it was ESPN trying to send him a message. So do you think ESPN was trying to send Pat a message by adding your show to its catalog?
I just work here, sir. I will just say this about Pat. I adore him. From the first minute I met him, and I hand him a Punters Are People 2 T-shirt when I was in the old, back when he was the punter back in the day, and I'm in Lucas Oil, and I'm covering whatever Thursday night game was there. Met him, loved him, had him on the podcast version of my show, had him in this chair here before he was the king of all sports media that he currently is. When my show was discontinued by DirecTV, and I got that phone call in late December of 2019, went to the Combine in March of 2020, fully knowing that my television show version of it was no longer going to be on Audience. That was officially shuttered. I had another month plus on my radio network that I had to deliver. So I wanted to have a video version of the show. So I switched to YouTube and went to Pat's show. It was in downtown, wasn't in the Thunderdome in his now, estate that he has set up there in Indiana. But it went to him, went on his show, stayed with him afterwards, watched his operation. He could have been more open and sharing about the way he did it. I picked up so much stuff from him on how to distribute a show, like this one, and similar to his, obviously. And couldn't have been more supportive when I spoke with him. Had breakfast with him in Indianapolis a couple combines later, and talked with him about what was going on with my show. There was a conversation at the time about maybe bringing just the audio version to ESPN Radio at the time, and he was talking about maybe a bigger, comeback with ESPN. And I told him that there were certain headwinds in the management suite that he may or may not have referred to in a certain way on the air. That was, in my estimation, from what I was being told by multiple people, standing in the way of it. And Pat made a phone call to say, essentially, what gives? Rich is a good guy. I mean, I'm paraphrasing what he said. So in many ways, this return for me in this show was sparked, or at least led on or helped by Pat. I have nothing but love for that guy.
Yeah.
Nothing but love and admiration. That guy works his ass off. And so I don't know. I don't have an answer for whatever you might be referring to. I heard it.
Yeah.
I have nothing but listen, and my show and Pat's show being in the same world now, Disney World. It's like I said, we're on at the same time. We have been for a while.
Yeah.
So, if you like my show and you're interested in it, check mine out. If you like Pat's show and you're interested in it, of which there are many, check that out. I'm cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You still have your own audiences, even though
and
you
I
might
don't
be under
mind
the
sharing
same thing.
those stories about Pat. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished here as a team and our content that we've created and an audience that we've built and cultivated through, again, a discontinuation by our original parent to a pandemic 3 months later to a journey from YouTube to NBC's Sports World, NBCSN. Took us for nothing. We just gave it to them for content during COVID. We wanted to stay on the air with some video portion of our show, and we did that. That went to a 1-year deal with Peacock, a renewal for 1 year with Peacock, a remarkable, wonderful 3-year run with Roku, now to Disney. I mean, we just keep our head down and we're excited about what we have done. And I am proud of it. I love telling the story of everybody here, Brandon. And I was on this pod before. I told it then. I'll tell it now, and I tell it every single time to the point where I've heard the story, Rich. I don't care. Oh, good. We're very proud of it. But obviously, you need some moments along the way where a bug is put in somebody's ear or a birdie says something. And McAfee did that multiple times, multiple. So everyone should know that. If people think that there's a rivalry or anything that's amiss, and I know you folks, I don't mean to use that. I know that sounds pejorative. At Awful Announcing, boy, do you love it when we talk shit to each other or about each other, or even there's like a hint of shit talking between one person with a microphone on his or her lapel or in front of him or her against someone else. I mean, that's something you pick up and you throw out there, which I understand.
Right. I mean, like similarly, I'm sure you loved the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady rivalry. That didn't mean they couldn't be friendly off the field together. So like,
I guess that's an analogy. I will accept that, Brandon. Sure. But, Pat, like I said, he and I go way back like a car seat, and his being at ESPN is part and parcel of one of the collection of instances and moments that led to this actually happening.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So it sounds like the feud is intense.
We should play it out in front of Steve Harvey.
Yeah. So obviously, like Mike and the Mad Dog, I remember when they were on radio, they go to TV. They were very much a radio show that was on television. I think like Colin Cowherd now is starting to transition more. He's a little bit more of a TV show that is also on radio. How do you look at your show? Like, is it radio first, video first?
We've been TV on the radio since jump.
Yeah.
And sometimes to our, detriment. When we first started at DirecTV, my audio executive, Mike Del Tufo, was sitting here. He's probably getting cold sweats thinking about it. We used to, we didn't have radio mics. We had lav mics like a TV show. And, then after a while, we got pushback from our radio affiliates, which was a significant revenue generator for our parent company at DirecTV. Significant because they put the money in the show to start it. They put it on their non-ad supported audience network. And so the radio revenue was a significant portion of making their money back. So they really were pushing the radio stuff, and I was pushing back. And Christopher J. Long, one of the best executives I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and he understood what I was trying to do, which is having a late night show on the radio, with the sports world just being a component of pop culture. It's a pop culture show that's on the radio, simulcast on the radio. That's what I wanted to do, and he understood that. We hired a celebrity booking team from Jump, and that was the idea. He wanted to have a celebrity an hour is the conversation we had to start, and obviously that never materialized, but at least that's the way the show was born. That's the way I've always viewed it, and I understand the radio audience needs to be catered to, and we do that. We do that, but it is first and foremost a TV show on the radio. That's the way I view it. That's the way I'm comfortable talking about it. That's the way we set it up. If you ever come to this studio, it is set up like a late night show. The green room leading to a hallway with photographs into a studio that I've been told multiple times, and I appreciate it. It's very welcoming and leads to a great conversation. 15, 20 minutes long. Sometimes not about sports at all. And that was in the very beginning of our existence, difficult to keep up and keep selling. But like I said, we've gotten this staying power. Thank goodness, entering year 11, and the guest list is equally as eclectic. Sports celebrities, our first week of celebrity guests already filled out for the first actual 2 weeks of our Disney Plus run. Very excited about it. And the Disney Plus folks that we've spoken to as well. In the same way that I spent 3 years telling my friends and colleagues at Roku, tell me your priorities. We'll fire hose it out on the program. And basically telling folks at Disney Plus, new TV shows, new movies, whatever you want to promote, bring them here. And to be honest with you, I think Disney Plus people are, from our initial conversations, excited about the possibilities here, because anybody that Disney Plus may want to have on as a celebrity guest would have to be either a guest picker on College Game Day, or maybe pop on for a few minutes for an interview on SportsCenter. Here, it's 15, 20 minutes, and we don't have to talk sports. You just talk about the movies, talk about pop culture, create a few reels and vids for our social crowds, and it's kind of a fit. It's a fit, certainly here in Los Angeles, where, you know, there are morning programs and Jimmy Kimmel, in a world where conversations with pop culture guests, the spaces for that are becoming smaller and smaller, and opportunities for them to promote. And we're here for it.
Yeah. The show still, I mean, it obviously works on radio because it is very conversational.
Thank you.
Are you passionate about radio? Do you like radio?
Brandon, listen, man, for now, 30 years doing the TV side of things, the big puzzle to solve for everyone, producers, executives, on air, the biggest puzzle to solve is how to connect with the fan. How do you do it? How do you break the fourth wall? And the answer is to talk to them, not at them, potentially talk to them, or ultimately with them. The medium that allows you to talk with them is radio. So here I am doing a TV show on the radio, and I'm like, anybody out there listening, call in. Call in. We don't see you, but call in, and we'll have a conversation with you. It breaks the fourth wall. Radio is the way for you to meet people and meet them where they are. Cars. We had somebody calling in today in the middle of a delivery, his delivery job. At one point, you heard, before he started talking to us, I think I heard him like slam the like a back gate shut or something like that, and then started talking with us. I love stuff like that. We've had mail carriers call in. People from, 13-year-old called in yesterday before, he went for his class picture. Come on now. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that on television, but you get that because he's listening, or because there's a radio component you're watching. You can call in too. And it's an incredibly exciting and powerful combination to simulcast like that.
Yeah.
Incredibly powerful. But at the end of the day, I'm a TV broadcaster on the radio, and the radio does afford you storytelling opportunities that television does not. I mean, again, the SportsCenter I did 2 Mondays ago, it was a highlight romp, right? And then I did Friday night preseason hosting on NFL Network. It was, okay, Kurt Warner, your thoughts? All right, your thoughts, Gerald McCoy. Now here I am, topic 2. And I would give my opinions, and we'd have a conversation. But after, 5, 6, 7 minutes, wrap, got to throw it a break, got to do this, got to do that, because that's the construct of the rundown and the format.
Sure.
This show is like I can tell a story. I can take 5 minutes. You know what? We just had this conversation with this fan calling in, or today, Drew Brees zoomed in and we talked about the night the Superdome reopened, because I was there for NFL Network, and obviously he was the quarterback of the Saints. We reminisced about that. Hung up from the Zoom, told a story about what conversation Marshall Faulk, Steve Mariucci, and I had on the sideline. Something you'll love as well. ESPN kicked me off the sideline because I was the former ESPN guy just 3 years into the rival NFL Network, standing on the sideline. They didn't want me in the shot of Monday Night Football. They kicked me off the sideline. Told that story. Right now that we have a happy ending between the former, as it's known, worldwide leader and yours truly. So that's what radio can afford. So I do love radio. Yep. I take massive pride in the Marconi that I have in my green room, right there with the 1996 Emmy Award that I got for doing SportsCenter. You know what I mean? Like, it's big, man. I don't take it for granted. I don't look at it like it's a sidecar. I do not look like it's the little brother, for the lack of a better phrase.
Yeah,
it is a powerful tool that is equally as powerful as it has ever been to connect with a fan and add a personal touch to a show that I love every day.
And then you're doing a SportsCenter related podcast for ESPN as part of your return. What
yes, that's mean? Right. So this was, part and parcel when we were talking about what else can I do as part of a new relationship outside of the Rich Eisen Show. And we have some other podcasts that we do here. No Contest Wrestling started with O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson, who's on the show with me every day. Overreaction Monday is a podcast that we created off of a segment that Chris Brockman and I do. Susie Schuster and Amy Trask did What the Football, but that's going to take a hiatus this year because Susie is teaching a class at USC at the Annenberg School and the Marshall School there every Tuesday. So that's going to be on hiatus. Jim Jackson does a pod, but I'm just mentioning that we're I'm trying to create more content in this world best I can. And one idea that I had that I was going to do regardless, and now that I'm like back in the fold and I can use Mark's logos and video and clips and music, is a legacy pod. You see the Office cast talking about the Office days, right? About the old Office TV show. I think there's been a legacy pod for also Friends. I saw a legacy pod that's out there for Entourage. And I'm like, if there's nostalgia for 90s, and I'm seeing, again, my 17-year-old, when I pick him up in high school, I'm seeing, are they wearing the same pants I wore back, in the 90s? Like, is it like what's old is becoming new again? And I thought to myself, what is more nostalgia than the sports centers that I was so fortunate to do and be part of that world that began a few years before I got there in 96 and ran through, my tenure there at 2003. And it's up to others to decide when you might give an endpoint of that so-called golden age. But let me interview my old SportsCenter colleagues and insert clips from back in the day, post-produce it in a way, video on a pod, and call it This Was SportsCenter. And they loved it. They're like, when can we do it? And I'm like, let's get this show up and running. And throughout the fall, I'll be recording some of these. And I don't know. I was thinking top of the next year, but it literally took 24 hours after the SportsCenter I did to hear feedback saying, when are you going to do that again? So I don't know when it's going to come out, but it's going to happen. And I think the reaction that I got from my SportsCenter 2 Mondays ago kind of confirmed that there's an audience for something like this.
Was that SportsCenter a one-off? Are you going to do it again? Do more of it semi-regularly, or?
Oh, it's definitely not a one-off. I had a blast. I mean, it was 22 years in the making, and it was a dream. Awesome. Loved it. I don't know when I'll do it again, but I'd love to. for sure. I know we're having conversations about finding a date, but I mean, the NFL, my show's launching September 2nd. My third and fourth shows on Disney Plus and ESPN app everywhere and ESPN radio. Shows 1 and 2 will be from this chair. After show 2, I'm going to LAX down the street and hopping a flight to Sao Paulo, Brazil, where I'll be doing my show Thursday and Friday in advance of calling the YouTube game.
Yeah.
Between the Chargers and the Chiefs. And then I come back and I land, I sleep, I wake up, and I do the first game day morning of the year of the 2025 season on NFL Network. And then I go home, I sleep, and then I'll wake up and I'll do week 2 here on Disney Plus and ESPN. And so there's lots going on.
Yeah.
I've got 2 London games on my docket coming up. Very fortunate to have all these things. Happy to endeavor a SportsCenter again, if not plural. And even from Bristol. I mean, going back there and, I probably left something there I got to pick up. I don't know. So yeah, I'm here, man. I'm ready to dive in. I'm ready to dive in and get back into this mix. Looking at ESPN for 22 years as them, it's refreshing to not feel that way anymore, man.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to not feel that way anymore. And everybody, Jimmy Pitaro, Burke Magnus, Dave Roberts is a guy I want to shout out. That's the executive who really zeroed in on this show and me and wouldn't give it up as a possibility. Mike Foss has been just phenomenal. I'm dealing also with the Good Karma Brands folks. Megan Judge is another executive there who's been so opening and welcoming, and Justin Craig, who I used to work with when I was the first voice of ESPN Radio's MLB coverage back in the late 90s, mid 90s or what have you. I'm just giving shout outs left and right. I'm probably leaving out some other people, but it's a different management team and a different sensibility that I'm enjoying being back in the mix. And they've been so welcoming, and I haven't even done a show for them yet, here. And there's a bunch of Disney Plus people that I can't wait to meet and get to know and dive in. I'm ready to dive in. So of course I wanted to keep doing stuff like that. And I'm very fortunate to be able to have a show like this that affords me the opportunity to come back as a partner. I'm a partner with Disney. We're creating the co-brands of this logo right here on the mug and Disney Plus, and we put them in the screens here for me to just suss out what does it look like, and I'll just see my Running Man logo with my name next to Walt Disney's signature with a plus next to it, and I will just catch myself. I'm like, that is a badass co-brand. Like, how lucky am I that this is the manner in which I'm coming back and getting back into the SportsCenter world, and figuring out how I do fit into the world of Disney and ESPN that's larger, and they're open to the ideas of it. And that on top of it, that this point next year, NFL Network may be part of that. And how I would view it as an opportunity and a privilege to spearhead that iteration of NFL Network, along with all my colleagues there in the 2.0 version, in the same way I did 22 years ago this November for the 1.0. What a blessing, man. I can't believe this is in the ether right now.
How important was it to work that Stuart Scott tribute into the SportsCenter?
It was a no-brainer, man. Because throughout the years, sitting here from this chair, I had Kilborn on the show once. There was I think there was an anniversary that happened. Neither of us got an invite, neither of us got a call. And there were a bunch of ESPN anchors from our day that were back there. And, it was great to see Dan and Keith do their big show again. I forget when it was, 2019, I think that was.
Yeah. I think it was around then.
And I thought to myself, you know what, man, will I ever get a chance to do it again? But the problem is if I ever get a chance to do it again, it won't be with Stuart. So whatever politics that I was embroiled in over the first few years that would not allow me to come back, robbed me of an opportunity with Stuart. And then cancer robbed Stuart from all of us. So here I am doing this thing, and I'm like, of course, if he was alive, I'd be doing it with him. I mean, it's just that simple. So how do I not talk about it? And I know if, the shoe were on the other foot, I'd want him to keep my memory alive every possible chance that he could. Certainly when there's a platform that we were synonymous of working together, that I was returning. So they were awesome too. Again, the producers were just like, what are we doing? What do you got in mind? And we came up with the ideas. It's funny. I walked to the set, and I mentioned this on my show last week. I walked to the set, the SportsCenter set here in Los Angeles, and I walked to the seat that Stuart normally occupies first, because that's the camera left seat that I occupy on a game day morning. So just reflexively over the last 12 plus years that I was doing that, or the draft, right? That's the seat I sit in for the draft. So pretty much that's the seat I've been sitting in for much of the last, 15 years of my career. So I went there first, and some of the producers kind of looked at me like, that's your SportsCenter seat over there. And I'm like, you're right. And that kind of gave birth to the idea that night of like, let's put a chair for Stu, and we put a rundown out there, and the shot that they created, the director and the producers, of having Stu on that screen, and me sitting there. It's again another blessing to be able to do it.
Did it feel familiar? Like, it's been 22 years, as you mentioned, but the building you were doing it in is different. The studio is different. I'm sure the staff and technology and how the show is produced is different. But did it feel familiar?
Yes, amazing. Come on, took me 5 minutes to write the open. Just getting in. I was honestly kid in a candy store. Kid in a candy store. It was great.
Yeah.
So lucky to be able to do it again. So I'm going to do it again. I just don't know when.
You also you mentioned going to Brazil for the YouTube game.
Yes.
That's big. Chiefs Chargers, first exclusive for YouTube. That is definitely big. How excited are you for that?
The whole world's seen it, Brandon. And normally that sounds like hyperbole or an exaggeration, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Literally every facet on the planet that is able to connect with YouTube, you will be able to see the game. No pressure. But what a game it is. I love it. I mentioned it to you before on this pod. Everything I do, certainly on this, from this chair, from the NFL Network chair, from the back in the day SportsCenter chair, from the NFL Total Access chair. It's all about what just happened or what's coming next. And to be in a chair where you're telling something as it's happening to an audience that requires you to do as great, incredible a job to tell you what's happening and to match the excitement that folks are feeling at home over it. And also, it's different of an endeavor from here. Whereas if I sit at this microphone on the Rich Eisen Show TV and radio and say nothing, that's a problem. That's a massive problem. Don't want dead air, but when you're calling a game, that's your friend. And I love having to do that. Again, that SportsCenter day, I did 3 hours of this show, then I did SportsCenter, two totally different hosting roles. Massively different. Rundowns are different. Cadence is different. Concepts are different. But what a challenge. So I will do the 3 hours, I think, from the booth on Friday down in Sao Paulo. Stay there. Stare at my boards. I'll be a caged animal. I might beat every chief and charger to the field because I'll already be there well in advance, and then call the game with Kurt and Stacey Dales, who I adore, known her forever, Destroying, who I've never met, and let's go. Chiefs Chargers, big game, couldn't be bigger. What a responsibility I have, and one that I cannot wait to crush.
Who do you think is the best play-by-play NFL play-by-play voice right now?
Right now, you can't. They're all great, man. I'm friends with all of them, or I know them. The one that I reached out to when I started doing this was Al. Al, me getting to know Al Michaels here in Los Angeles over the last 22 years is such and I keep using the word blessing because it's true. Really is. I reached out to him because I knew, and when I was starting doing this thing and we were doing the rehearsals, I was talking too much. Yeah, my job here is to connect sentences, string thoughts together. Same thing on game day morning, is to weave what my last analyst said into a fact and to a tease to a break that I've written or I know is coming up. Try to weave it all together. Tell a story, tell a picture, and all that sort of thing. In football, that ain't it. I was talking way too much. Way too much. And Al told me a great piece of advice. He said, captions and ellipses. So the ellipses being ... your voice can trail, let the picture finish the story. And captions, just try and nail the moment with just a few short words. Let your analysts do the rest, and get the rest of the nuts and bolts down. Don't yell at me, like that sort of stuff. Al's immeasurably been helpful, but I've known Joe Buck since '96. Love him. Tirico, obviously, since '96. I did SportsCenters with him back in the day. I look forward to reaching out to him for this was SportsCenter, because I picked up a lot of stuff from him doing SportsCenter with him. He'd already pretty much graduated from the daily role there when I got there. I do enjoy listening to Kevin Burkhardt, and Nance is an A++ storyteller. So you're not going to get me to choose, but the one that I did reach out to, I reached out to Al right away.
Yeah, well, that's certainly a good one to seek advice from. The game you're doing is on YouTube, YouTube yes, exclusive to YouTube. Do you think that we will ever see a Super Bowl that is a streaming exclusive?
Don't know. I don't know. I gotta ask. RG1 would be the one to answer that question. I don't know, but streaming is the way it's all going, brother. And that's the way it is right now. Honestly, NFL Network still obviously linear cable, but everything else I'm doing is streaming and on demand, podcasting, or everything we do here on this show. We meet the audience where it is, whether it's on a reel on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. Our YouTube Shorts game is taken off. We've got one that, involving Mila Kunis when she was here about months ago, telling a story about that 70s show and things of that nature. She almost turned it down because she was going to take a soap opera job because she thought her colleagues were hot. She's like, hey, I was 14, 15 years old. She tells that story that's gone over 1.5 million views, I think, on YouTube Shorts right now. The reason why I bring this up is, again, it's just a different world. You got to meet your audience where it is. And a few years ago, streaming, really? Yeah, really. And that's where it is right now. And who knows where it'll be 5 years from now? I don't know, but it's possible, I guess.
Yeah. Last thing, what are your expectations for the Jets this season?
I don't know. I mean, I do have a Jet Broncos game that I'm calling. And man, did I get a whole bunch of shit from Vikings fans thinking that I was rooting for the Jets last year. I felt like Joe Buck, right? Where everybody thinks he's rooting against your team. And anybody who knows me professionally and personally knows that at the end of the day, the most important thing is I wanted a game where the game was on the line and it didn't matter who won. And sure enough, the game was on the line and Rodgers got intercepted towards the end of the game. and the Vikings deserved it. And I think I met the moment with the appropriate professionalism and equanimity that is required of somebody in my role. So I don't really want to feed anything that like I'm rooting for the Jets, especially since I love Sean Payton. And you may or may not see Sean Payton on my first show on Disney Plus. That the moves that they made, clearly they're going to have to get a new coach because they fired the last one after losing in London, a game that I called, and had no idea that was afoot in the pre-broadcast meetings at all. I mean, you could tell they weren't happy, but they were just 2-2. They just lost to Denver, as a matter of fact. Yeah, which is something I might bring up as context for that game. But at any rate, clearly they're going to hire a new coach. And Aaron Glenn is somebody who has been deserving of the opportunity for some time, former first-round pick of the Jets from the Parcells era, and is somebody who has paid his dues and has shown his ability to lead and take a team on one side of the ball and be highly successful with it. Great hire in that respect. He makes a decision at the quarterback spot. New quarterback, what are you going to do? I don't think Matthew Stafford was going to come east for the Jets. As you know, he didn't want to come east at all, it appeared. I don't think Kirk Cousins would have been a wise move when you're paying him a certain amount of money that would cost you draft capital as well to go get him. I don't know if the Falcons would have made him available to the Jets. I don't know. But it would have been an expensive draft choice for them to do it. They'd already just used draft choices on another veteran who'd coming off of an Achilles, who wound up with an Achilles injury. Here's one who's coming off of one from a year before, right? Yeah. So you look at the options that they had. Going with Justin Fields, 26-year-old with an upside, and saying, here's one last shot. You're the guy here, and paying him $20 million a year when you see what other quarterbacks are making, who also haven't won a playoff game or even made the playoffs in their career. And say, that's your old college teammate you killed it with. And we're going to sign him. And we're going to sign the other rookie of the year that we had. And we're not going to make them wait. We're not going to make them go through a season and wonder are they going to be here or not. They made some really smart moves. They're smart bets. Unfortunately, as Jets fans will tell you, the smart bets sometimes just blow up in their faces because, I don't know, the football gods love kicking them in the balls. So we'll see. They made some smart moves, I think, and they have the chance of working out. But that's the beauty of the NFL. We just don't know. We don't know. But there's a bunch of talented players there with a head coach who is going to give them an opportunity. And I do look forward to that Broncos-Jets game in Tottenham.
Rich, you were great. Congratulations on returning to ESPN, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
That is Rich Eisen. I'm Brandon Contes. This is the Awful Announcing Podcast. Please rate and subscribe to this podcast. Please also subscribe to Awful Announcing's YouTube page, but regardless of how you consume Awful Announcing and the Awful Announcing Podcast, thanks for listening and be good.
Thanks for listening to the Awful Announcing Podcast. For the latest news spanning the sports media landscape and more, check out awfulannouncing.com and follow us at Awful Announcing.